Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, the PM defends government's stance on vaccines and testing requirements. What's the plan for displaced shantytown residents? And renovated wards at the Rand Memorial Hospital recommissioned. Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis today defending his decision to allow fully vaccinated individuals to enter the Bahamas without a PCR test as of May 1st. Minnis says his government is just following the CDC. Kaya Joaquin has more.
And CDC has put out recommendations.
Minnis says it's a perk being implemented all over the world, the removal of the PCR requirement for travel. While some have questioned whether this move could lead to a spike in cases on top of the third wave, Minnis says he doesn't think so.
I think we're following the guidelines, and we've made adjustments that we thought would be applicable, especially to our family islands, rather than waiting for the 2 weeks beyond the vaccination. We think that after the vaccination, you can move to the family islands quite freely without requiring the testing.
With cases on the rise, there is a concern over Princess Margaret Hospital's capacity to handle the increase, particularly when it comes to manpower. Health Minister Ronald Wells assured it's under control.
We have seen an increase in cases. The government of the Bahamas spoke to that before we went into the Easter holiday. We said, listen, there's the possibility that cases may rise. We've seen that, but we're doing all that we can to mitigate those circumstances.
We have gone through a second wave, and we have learned a lot from that as to what to do, what not to do. And we're following the same protocols and procedures that we've utilized before.
Another 33,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine are due in country sometime next month. But after Minnis described the fight against COVID as a race, he was asked if there would be sufficient in country to meet the demand and when the country could expect to get them.
I cannot give you an exact date when it will arrive, but I've given you all the information when I spoke in Parliament on Wednesday.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, health officials confirming 2 new COVID-19 deaths, a 37-year-old woman from New Providence who died on Wednesday and a 91-year-old man on Grand Bahama who died on Tuesday. This brings the total number of confirmed COVID-19 deaths in the country to 196. 3 additional deaths are under investigation. The country is nearing a total of 10,000 confirmed COVID cases since the onset of the pandemic in March 2020. 50 new cases were confirmed yesterday. New Providence has 41 new cases, while there are 5 new cases on Grand Bahama, 3 on Exuma, and 1 on the Berry Islands. The total number of confirmed cases is 9,976. And more than a year after hospital staff and patients at Rand Memorial Hospital were forced to flee amid rising storm surge during Hurricane Dorian, newly renovated blocks and wards of the Grand Bahama Hospital were recommissioned today. Kaya Joaquin is on the island and has more.
We were here in 2019 when Hurricane Dorian wreaked havoc on this hospital, but today is a new day with those impacted wards renovated and recommissioned. The pediatrics ward, operating theater, medical surgical block, all among the areas renovated and ready for patients, according to Health Minister Ronald Wells. This after they were destroyed during the passage of Hurricane Dorian in 2019. It was ribbon cutting after ribbon cutting as the Prime Minister and health teams moved from building to building, recommissioning those areas that have been closed for a year and a half.
We have a workroom for our staff so they can concentrate, work in peace, or rest when they need to. And we now have our services divided up into our adolescent beds and our crib baby cot area.
After learning from the experience with Dorian, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis told Grand Bahamians today that a new tower is set to break ground soon, which would avoid the devastation from happening again.
This will shortly result in the award of a contract for the construction of a 4-level tower that will allow for the inpatient services to be removed from the ground floor level to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th story level.
Another important aspect of today's recommissioning is a new reverse osmosis system with the ability to provide 3 times the amount of fresh water needed for the hospital.
So, in case of emergency, we're making sure that the hospital is equipped with life-saving water for surgeries, for sterilization, cleaning those spaces, and to supply the staff who are going to be working through the storm as they did after Dorian.
But this unit is over-designed so it can handle an increase in salinity as people here in Freeport and in Abaco experienced after Hurricane Dorian.
Here, if you guys want, I'll fill them and you guys can stand back here.
Oh. Thank you.
Now again, the health minister said those newly renovated wards are ready for opening come Monday. Reporting from the Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
More than 24 shantytown structures in Abaco have been demolished. Human Rights Bahamas legal director Fred Smith calls the move unfortunate, while a local activist questions what's the plan for those displaced residents. Jillian Gray reports.
45 incomplete and unoccupied structures in the farm shantytown in Abaco have been demolished, with more set to be destroyed in the coming weeks.
Essentially, we're going to now do what Hurricane Dorian did, which is displace people.
Activist Luby Georges says while he does not support people building these unregulated structures, the government seems to be carrying out this exercise without a plan for those being displaced.
There is no pronouncements of a plan for the persons that are going to be displaced as a result of these homes being demolished.
Georges says there should have been a shelter or another plan for those persons. The social media video shows people carting away their belongings in buckets while watching as the structures were destroyed. Minister of Works Desmond Bannister said the government remains firm in its resolve to ensure that the health hazardous conditions that those unregulated communities foster are dealt with decisively and effectively.
What we see here is a blatant disregard for Bahamian law. It's a blatant disregard for health standards in our country. And if it continues, we're going to soon have just thousands and thousands of people out here in an unregulated state that is going to threaten the health of every single person on this island.
In 2018, the government announced that all shantytowns in the Bahamas would be demolished and gave residents of most shantytowns on Abaco until the end of July 2019 to leave. However, in August 2018, Supreme Court Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson granted an injunction preventing the demolition of shantytowns. Legal Director of Human Rights Bahamas Fred Smith said it is most unfortunate that the government would choose to create another humanitarian crisis on Abaco, adding that the demolition came at the very moment when the fate of this community is before the courts and awaiting the judge's ruling.
The Building Control Department has gone for it of all of those buildings. They have marked those buildings appropriately. They know that for now they can't touch those buildings.
The judicial review hearing continues next Tuesday. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, Sky Bahamas CEO Randy Butler was unsuccessful in having a judgment in default of defense against him set aside. The judgment relates to accusations that Butler defrauded 2 companies out of millions of dollars. Jared Higgs has the details.
That judgment in default of defense put forward by the plaintiffs, Alpha Aviation Limited and Advanced Aviation Limited, came after Butler failed on 2 occasions to submit a defense to claims that he defrauded those companies out of nearly $28 million. According to the judgment handed down by Supreme Court Deputy Registrar Carol Michovich, Butler's attorney, Michael Horton, wrote to the plaintiff's attorney, Michael Scott, requesting an extension to file a defense until the end of January. Horton cited communication challenges during the pandemic and the fact that Butler spends most of his time in Andros. Scott agreed to an extension to January 22nd, but a day before that deadline, Horton filed a summons for further and better particulars. 3 days later, Scott entered the judgment in default of defense. Horton appealed, but the court ruled out of Butler's favor. Michovich called the summons for further and better particulars a delaying tactic. She said the defendants were unable to file and serve a defense within the time allowed by law, but no explanation is given as to why this was the case. The deputy registrar added, "I was concerned by the serious allegations in the statement of claim. However, the Butler affidavit does not even condescend to contradict or challenge the allegations of fraud, conspiracy, or breach of fiduciary duty. She added, "I cannot find any support in the evidence, or as made out an argument, for a defense with a reasonable degree of conviction on which I could rest the exercise of the court's discretion in favor of the defendants. I will award the cost of the application to the plaintiffs." In a statement of claim filed on November 16, 2020, Alpha Aviation Limited and Advance Aviation Limited alleged that Butler, Sky Bahamas Airlines Limited, and Aviation Oversight Group Limited, together with former Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest, conspired wrongfully and with intent to injure those companies and or to cause loss to them by unlawful means and or to enrich themselves. Turnquest is not named as a defendant in the matter. Reporting for Our News, I am Jared Higgs.
Thanks, Jared. Well, it's finally Friday. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Hey, Christina, and a good Friday evening, everybody. A quiet evening right now, partly cloudy skies. Your winds are out of the northeast at 11 knots, so we're going to call it breezy. Temperatures are mild, 75 degrees outside our studios, and your field light temperature also in the mid-70s. Satellite view, after we got into some action yesterday, that frontal boundary is now pushing into the central Bahamas and weakening as it continues to side towards the south. A couple isolated showers near the San Salvador, the Cat Island area, but all in all, a breezy and nice evening setting up for us on the outdoors. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, a cabinet minister says he has no plans to suspend his campaign, and visitor arrivals pick up on Exuma. The details after this.
Yes. Jump in the truck. Right down. Right down. That is so funny. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Now eyes up, just your eyes. Okay. Yes, got it. Like these hands in the pocket. 3, 2, 1. Eyes to the camera, guys.
Give me Skate Season 2 coming soon to TV.
With 99% of medical claims paid in under 5 days, we're like that spider that doesn't climb in your shower. CG Atlantic. Insurance, health, pensions, life. Good like that.
Amid concerns over campaigning during the third wave of COVID-19 cases, South Beach MP Jeff Lloyd says while he doesn't intend to stop campaigning, he is following safety protocols. Berthany McDermott reports.
As COVID-19 numbers continue to climb, Education Minister and South Beach MP Jeff Lloyd says he has no plan to suspend his campaign, insisting that the Free National Movement is following COVID-19 safety protocols. His comments come days after Baines and Grants Town Member of Parliament Travis Robinson announced the suspension of in-person constituency meetings and door-to-door campaigning with immediate effect.
No, I don't. However, whatever is required of us, as we have been doing from this pandemic and throughout, whatever is required of us, obviously face masks, obviously social distance, obviously a limit on the number of people that could be in a particular space at a particular time, is being rigorously followed, certainly by the Free National Movement government and its party.
In a statement, Robinson said he wants to keep all those in the community safe by doing all he can to prevent any possible spread of COVID-19. On Sunday, Progressive Liberal Party leader Philip Davis announced that due to concerns over growing COVID numbers, the PLP will restrict campaigning during the third wave.
Obviously, if you do not follow the protocols, and of course, those who this moment still are reluctant in getting vaccination, yes. If we are not going to abide by the mandates given to us by the health authorities, if we are going to relax our focus and our vigilance, if we are not going to submit to the competent authority and its prescriptions, then yes.
Now, according to Lloyd, he sees no issues with campaigning activities once COVID-19 safety protocols are followed. When asked if he feels he's ran a safe campaign, Lloyd said this.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We have been very, very careful and very insistent, obligatorily so, to doing what is required by the health authorities.
The South Beach MP also encouraged residents to continue following safety protocols and insisted that the end is near.
We are, Brother McDermott, we are at the virtual end of this pandemic. But we won't get through it unless our citizens, and this is everybody, make the effort to hold the line in terms of obeying and abiding by the protocols that have been established.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Well, despite the global COVID-19 pandemic, islands like Exuma are experiencing a boom in tourism numbers. While visitor arrivals are nowhere near where they were pre-COVID-19, the increase in tourists is good news for those whose lives depend on it. Jasmine Brown reports.
While major hotels like Grand Isles and Sandals Resort were forced to close for much of 2020, smaller properties on Exuma also took a huge blow. No one knows that better than owner of the Exuma Palms Hotel, Dwight Hart. His small hotel went from record-setting sales in 2019 to record-low bookings in 2020.
Everybody was seeing numbers that we'd not seen before. And going into 2020, the same thing, the trend was continuing. Certainly for the first 3 months of 2020, we were seeing extremely good numbers. And so we were all expecting that, it was going to be even a better year than 2019. And then, of course, March 2020 and the pandemic hit us. Everything came to a screeching halt.
The Exuma native says when the pandemic hit, he went from a 60% boost in bookings during the first 3 months of 2020 to only 1 booking a month for the rest of the year. Hart says he, like many others, had to make adjustments.
And it took, being as creative as possible and using every resource available to stay open, but we're here.
Now, more than a year later, he says things are finally starting to look up. Hotels across the Bahamas are seeing an uptick in bookings. Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar has said there is a glimmer of the industry returning to its former glory days, and it's clear from the packed Exuma International Airport that Exuma is among the islands benefiting. Hart says the good news is this.
We think that we're going to be in a good place because certainly the demand seems to be there. We're getting calls, people inquiring. So I've got bookings now, December, I've got July, got some, May bookings coming in. And we expect that those numbers are going to start to go back up because there's only so much capacity in Exuma. And I think unlike the larger hotels, we certainly offer a degree of privacy and safety that some guests are looking for. As opposed to being in a crowded environment.
Now, Hart says with more visitors returning to the island, he is confident that things will get better for Exuma. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
When Our News comes back from the break, thousands of tablets donated to public school students. The details when Our News returns.
Yes. Jump in the room.
Right there. Right there. That is so funny. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Now eyes up, just your eyes. Okay. Yes, got it. Like these hands in the pocket. 3, 2, 1. I see camera, guys.
Give me Kingdom Season 2 coming soon to TV.
With 99% of medical claims paid in under 5 days, we're like that spider that doesn't climb in your shower. CG Atlantic. Insurance, health, pensions, life. Good like that.
This is Our News. Welcome back. Tonight in sports, both DeAndre Ayton and Jazz Chisholm take tough losses last night as regular season action continued. Marcellus Hall has the rundown.
All right, thanks so much, and welcome to our Sports on a Friday, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of The Locker Room. We've got a lot more great shows coming your way, as always, right here on RTV. So let's get you rolling tonight with some basketball, as DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns have been one of the surprises in the Western Conference, putting their second position in the Western Conference on the line, going up against the Boston Celtics last night. And as far as this one goes, but it's a surprise, Celtics getting a nice victory. We'll give you details on that right about now. So DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns taking on the Boston Celtics, aforementioned, as we mentioned. And DeAndre Ayton would play 33 minutes in this one. Finished up with 10 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. And he also had a steal in the block to kind of fill out the stat sheets. Thing is, though, the Phoenix Suns did not account for a resurgent effort by Kemba Walker of the Boston Celtics. He torched them last night on the way to a 99-86 victory. Walker hitting a season-high 32 points, and the Celtics get a much-needed win to stay in sixth position in the Eastern Conference. They're 32-27 on the year. As for Phoenix, they fall to 42-17, still second in the West. Next game coming up for them will be on Sunday when they take on the very tough Brooklyn Nets. On to some baseball news now, where Jazz Chisholm and the Miami Marlins taking on Antoine Richardson and the San Francisco Giants. First game of a 4-game set coming your way last night. A late matchup, in case you tried to stay up for this one. Didn't actually start until 9:40 in the evening. Taking you to the game itself. The hits are hard to come by for the Marlins, as they actually only tallied 2 of them last night. One of them came from Jazz Chisholm, batting in the leadoff spot once again. Unfortunately, it would be in a losing effort. Jazz goes 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts on the evening. And, of course, the Giants get the win. 3-0 ends up being your final score. The two teams will meet again today for Game 2 in that series, which wraps up on Sunday. Part of, again, we mentioned, a 4-game set. And there it is, your check on sports for you here on this Friday. Once again, I'm Marcellus Hall. Have a great weekend. Back to you.
Thanks, Marcellus. Still to come, how one company stepped up to fill a void in education during the pandemic. And Greg is back in the Weather Center with the extended weather forecast. So stay with us.
Yes. Jump in the truck.
Right there. Right there. That is so funny. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Now eyes up, just your eyes. Yes, got it. Like these hands in the pocket. 3, 2, 1. I see the camera, guys.
Gibby's Kingdom Season 2 coming soon to TV.
With 99% of medical claims paid in under 5 days, we're like that spider that doesn't climb in your shower. CG Atlantic. Insurance, health, pensions, life. Good like that.
Welcome back to our news. Beautiful weekend conditions ahead. Greg is back in the Weather Center with the details.
Thanks again, Christina. Happy Thursday evening, everybody. A very nice day around the islands as the front boundary continues to push towards the south and east. It's now draped across the central Bahamas, weakening as we speak. A couple of isolated showers now, the central Bahamas. Those showers will translate towards the east as this front boundary exits the area. Large high pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico will swing across the area, and that will keep our winds out with northeast to east today and tonight. But by tomorrow, we expect those winds to become more east to southeast, and the breeze will continue into the weekend. Your boating forecast for all areas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the northeast to east, but they become east to southeast, 15 to 20 knots. So small craft caution posted for your boaters. Seas running 4 to 6 feet. Your low tide will be at 10:56 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Wednesday. That's a look at our weather. Make it a great weekend, everybody. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Leno, Bahama is making its final presentation of tablets to the Ministry of Education as officials aim to put a device in the hands of every student. To date, more than 36,000 tablets have been distributed across the Bahamas. Education Minister Jeff Lloyd says $500,000 has been spent on tablets.
This has really been a national initiative. We have come together to enable our children to participate in the educational process.
Leno Bahamas CEO Sean Longley says it was important to start this initiative during the pandemic.
It took only minutes to make the commitment. We called the minister, whose comments were, "Thank the Lord, thank the Lord. We could not have done this alone." And with his encouragement, we were on our way. Thank you, Minister. That was a little more than 6 months ago. And today, we have marked this milestone to having put a tablet in the hands of every student who needed one.
Thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night for our news weekend. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.